Thank you for joining today's SWE India webinar series hosted by SWE Pune under Prajna webinar series. A few housekeeping notes. If you have logged in from desktop and laptop, you can click your dashboard and add your questions in this space. If you have logged in from phone or tablets, you can click the question mark on top of your screen and a text box will appear where you can add the questions for the speaker. You are welcome to add the questions throughout the session, which will be addressed by the presenter at the end of the presentation. A little bit about SWE. SWE is a 70-year-old organization. We are globally present with around 50,000 members who like to be part of world's largest advocacy for all women in engineering and technology. We also have initiatives programs for women to succeed as engineers as well as leaders in STEM fields. We lead outreach activities for high school girls to find engineering as an interesting career path to choose. We also offer training and development programs, networking opportunities, outreach, and any other advocacy activities that can enable more women and girls to join STEM fields. One of our important online portal is our SWE Career Center, where you can find jobs with our partner companies who truly believe in the goal of increasing more women to be part of STEM opportunities. If you are someone who is looking for career opportunities in such fields, please do upload your resume or build your resume using this website careers.swe.org. Please note it's free to access by both members as well as non-members of SWE. We also newly launched a mentoring platform called SWE Mentoring Network. You can access it in the website swe.teraza.com. You can become a mentor or you can be the mentee. And all the community of members found in this website is globally enrolled and signed up. So it's a very simple process. If you have a LinkedIn, you can just sign up directly. Do check this website, swe.teraza.com. One of our online e-learning platform is our Advanced Learning Center, where we upload on-demand content such as today's webinar in advancedlearning.swe.org. There are also live webinars that goes on from SWE HQ from USA. You can also attend them for free using this website. I'm so excited to announce that vLocal India 2021 conference, which is a signature event of SWE India, is going virtual on April 22nd to 23rd. Why attend vLocal India conferences? You to get fresh ideas, networking, inspiration, find jobs at our career fair with our amazing partners, as well as develop professionally. For more details on how to register and what are the things you can avail through this conference, check our website vlocal.swe.org. And for more information on other ways to be part of SWE India or SWE globally, visit our website swe.org. Also, you can mail us at info_@swe.org. Over to Aishwarya, our FY21 SWE Global Ambassador from Pune.
Hello, very good afternoon, everyone. Sunena, I'm not able to see the slide change. Yeah, okay, thank you. So, very good afternoon. I am Aishwarya Dubey. I'm working with Emerson and I have been part of SWE for 4+ years now. And as SWE Global Ambassador, I'm dedicated to promote SWE's mission to stimulate women to achieve their full potential as engineers and leaders. Next slide, please. To give you a brief introduction about SWE Pune affiliate, it was the first affiliate in India, started back in 2015 with just 6 members. Today, we are a group of 200+ members from 20+ organizations. Being the first affiliate in India, SWE Pune has expanded the global footprint of SWE by mentoring and sponsoring many other affiliates in the country. SWE Pune's contribution was accoladed several times since 2016. Now, SWE, as a SWE affiliate, we believe in SWE's mission and drive multiple programs to promote it. Next slide, please, Sunena. Our purpose to advance, aspire, and achieve has sustained and expanded the platform. The journey is strongly backed by active corporate partners and terrific group of voluntary leaders. Now, coming to today's topic. Negotiation is one skill which is required in all aspects of our life, personal as well as professional. Mastering the art of negotiation can bring many benefits, including the ability to work more effectively with individuals or groups of differing cultures. It gives us better understanding of how interpersonal skills can underpin success. And it also gives us the knowledge to create strategies for overcoming challenging situations. Next slide, please. So, today, our speaker Neeraja Ganesh will share her personal story of how she elevated in her career using power of negotiation. I'm very excited to introduce her. We all know, right? Seeing is believing, and having a role model really helps us to aspire big. Neeraja had her own mother to look up to. All her life, she saw her mother breaking barriers of conservative society to become a strong and independent woman. So when Neeraja was put into similar situation, she took inspiration from her mother to become what she is today. Currently, Neeraja is consultant with Quinnergy Leadership Academy. She is also a freelance consultant who conducts various training programs and workshops on leadership and behaviors. She coaches people to progress in their careers. Prior to this role, Neeraja, Neeraja's professional experience expanded over 2 decades in the field of information and technology. For her outstanding contribution towards promoting gender diversity, she has received her Rising Award from Jobs for Her twice. First in 2019 under the Women's Professional category and second time in 2020 under Women in Education category. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Neeraja to give us brief introduction about Quinnergy and tell us more about mastering the art of negotiation. Over to you, Neeraja.
So thank you, SWE, for having given Quinnergy and me this opportunity to talk to your members. And I will put off my video after a while because my network is also cribbing, and I'll probably come back during the Q&A session with the video. We'd like to take a couple of minutes to quickly introduce Quinnergy, which is the organization where I consult. And then we will deep dive into the topic for today, which is the art of negotiation. I also have Shireen with me, who helps us with all the programs that we do at Quinnergy. And we hope to be joined with Vivek, who is the CEO of Quinnergy at some point in time. So what is Quinnergy? Quinnergy stands for Quintessential Inner Energy. And this organization, obviously, just like every other, learning organization, an organization that helps companies and individuals learn, they help individuals and organizations to be the best that they can be. And the difference between any other learning organization or any other development program is that this the programs offered by this organization go beyond the skill, because skills are something that all of us know can learn. It's very easy, especially in today's world, because there's plenty of literature available, there's plenty of videos available, YouTube videos available, and plenty of webinars that are around, which will tell you about the skill. How does one acquire any kind of a skill, be it technical, be it industry relevant skill, be it leadership skills? But Quinnergy focuses on the inner will of the leader. And today, when we talk about the art of negotiation, we will understand what we mean when we say that it is going to focus on the inner will of the leader. And all their programs are based on Indic wisdom and its philosophies. Especially one of the programs is based on the Mahabharata philosophy, and we will talk a little bit about that also in today's session. The two flagship programs that are offered by Quinnergy are Awaken the Shakti Within and Saptaswara. Awaken the Shakti Within actually is a customized program for women leaders. It is customized from a program which is called as the 5 Seats of Power. This is the program that is based on the Mahabharata and the philosophy of the five Pandavas, the five princes in the Mahabharata, and the leadership, style, or what we call as the archetypes, the leadership archetypes that each of these Pandava princes actually showcased. And we have developed this program, the 5 Seats of Power, and the customized version for women leaders, Awaken the Shakti Within, based on that. And we'll get to know a little about it as we go through today's session. The second flagship program that Quinnergy offers is called the Saptaswara, which talks about the 7 swaras that one needs to be in touch with to have a holistic life. And I'm not talking professional, personal, because there are various aspects for one to lead a holistic life. So there is, of course, a professional side, there is an emotional side, there is a spiritual side, and there may be more than that. But the 7 swaras, which are important for any person to lead a holistic life. So that's the second program. This was just a brief introduction about Quinnergy, because I think people might be curious when they get to know that I actually consult with Quinnergy. And at the end of this session, I think we will also send you all some literature about Quinnergy and our programs and how you can get in touch with us. Let us talk about today's topic, which is negotiation. I wanted to narrate a story which all of us are very, very familiar with. It is a story of, I think, every woman's life in the months of March and April 2020. We were one day told that India is going under a lockdown, which meant that nobody can step out of their houses. And we had to stop all the help that we had at home, be it the maid, be it the cook, the gardener, and whoever else, and don that mantle ourselves. I'm sure each of you resonates with that, right? And in addition to that, we had to also continue doing our work. For those of us who are working, who are in careers, we had to kind of completely move it online. So there was the same situation in my house also. So I have my maid Manjula, who I had to stop. I have my cook, Miss Uma, who I had to stop. I call her Miss Uma. And what happened in my house? Nothing changed for the rest of the people in my house. My husband has always forever worked from home, so there was no difference for him. My mother-in-law, she's 83, so she's always been homebound. So she kind of moves between her bedroom and the hall to watch the TV, and that's about it. So nothing changed for her. My daughter was just finishing off her 12th standard exams, so anyways, it was going to be a period of vacation for her. So she was not looking forward to going around or anything like that. So it was kind of business as usual for her too. For the only person for whom things changed was me. So I was working at a college and I had to, suddenly move all the work online. And all the other freelance work that I do, I had to figure out how to, first of all, attract customers online and then deliver the work online, in addition to doing Manjula's and Miss Uma's work. Okay. Which meant that I had to do the jhadu, the pota, the bartan, and of course the bathrooms, the dusting, and the cooking. Now, those of you who know me, I know Shireen knows me very well, know that I hate cooking. So I've been married for 25 years. In 2020, we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. The first time that I ever cooked was in 2020. It's not an exaggeration, right? I hate cooking. But I had no other option but to do it last year. So you can imagine how stressful it was. But I decided to do it because there was no other option. And we didn't even know when the lockdown was going to end. So day one, I went about doing the entire sweeping, mopping. Of course, my daughter helped me with the mopping. That's what she did. But we decided on a strategy that we'll do 3 rooms one day, 3 rooms another day, and take a holiday on Sunday from all the sweeping and mopping. But of course, everyone we have to eat 3 times a day, so that has to continue. And when you eat, and you have all these vessels, and then there is the clothes, and there's the dusting in the bathrooms, and went about. So day one, successful. Day two, the routine continued. Day three starts the day same way, and the day same way. And nothing seems to have changed for the rest of the people in the house. I told you, right? Because life is business as usual for them. The only person for whom things have changed is for me. I kept looking around to say if somebody would come and, ask me something, tell me something, show some sympathy, empathy. Nothing was happening. Anyways, I went about whatever I had to do. Day 6, 7, 8, 9, day 10. The 10th day, as the day finished, the last thing that I usually do is, take the garbage from the house and keep it outside the gate, lock the gate, and come back. I sat down and I asked my husband, have you realized that something has changed? Of course, there was not so much of a realization from his side. So I had to tell him that, see, Manjula doesn't come and Miss Uma doesn't come. But things are going around the same way as, as if these two people were there in the house. So I've been, doing all of this in addition to, trying to figure out how to deliver my work online. And I won't be able to continue like this. So I would really, hope that you pick up something to help me out. And I said, there is, a plethora of services that you could do. It's not one you can choose. It's a bouquet. If you wish to, do the vessels, you can do that, or the clothes, or whatever. Of course, the look on his face told me he wasn't very happy with the conversation that I was having with him. But I continued, and I told him that if you decide not to, still do anything from tomorrow, then I will have to let go of something. And what do people usually let go of? What they hate the most. And I'm sure no guesses. What do I hate the most? I hate cooking the most. So I said, that's what I will let go of. So if you don't see the coffee tomorrow morning when you get up, then you know what has happened. I went to sleep. Are you able to hear me? So next morning, what do you think I did? You, I didn't make the coffee? Of course not. There is something that you speak, but the implementation is very different, right? So I went ahead, made the coffee, I went ahead, made breakfast, and took up the jhadu, everything as usual. So I told you my daughter helps with the mopping, right? So she took the mop and went into the office room. So we have an office room because my husband has been working from home. So we have a big office room. So she took the mop and went into the office, and my husband told her, tomorrow is a holiday, I will mop. So I went into the room and told him that no, it's okay. You don't have to mop because I know that he has a back problem. He's had a slip disc in the past. So I said, there are enough and more things to be done. I don't think you should do the mopping because it's going to hurt your back. Why don't you look at the sink? There are enough vessels there. Evening when I came to the sink, it was empty. So somebody had done the vessels. It had to be my husband. I was quite happy about having had the conversation the previous night. Next morning, I see that my mother-in-law is at the sink. She was, watching the vessels. So my mother-in-law was doing the vessels. Anyway, I didn't ask any questions. I came back because I was glad somebody was doing it. I had enough and more to do. Evening, I saw my husband and mother-in-law having a big fight near the sink. So my mother-in-law, of course, did not like her son doing the vessels, and she was offering to. And my husband, of course, did not like his mother doing the vessels, so he was offering to. I left the scene because for me, the end goal was more important, which was the empty sink. And I had managed to, delegate at least one of the responsibilities very, very successfully. Now I'm asking the question to myself and to all of you. Why did it take me 10 days to have that conversation with my husband? I have been a person who has had a corporate life for 25 years. My last corporate stint was with Capgemini. I was a director there, so obviously at a very senior position, 25 years non-stop, which meant that I should have managed, my things at home effectively. Otherwise, I couldn't have had a career like that. And things were being managed very well at home. There was enough and more delegation done. For example, my husband knew that he had to actually put the washing machine every day because the minute I came home, if I saw the dirty clothes in the clothes bin, I would just, lose it. So I'm okay with, pulling out the clothes from the washing machine, drying it and, folding it and ironing it. But the sight of dirty clothes would put me off. My mother-in-law used to run the kitchen. My daughter also used to, do a lot of work. So for those of you who have kids, you will know that you need to kind of pack 2 or 3 dabbas for the kids. And because I used to leave home by 7:30 for work and come back only by 8:30 in the night, I used to take, my breakfast and lunch and an evening snack. So about 6 dabbas to be packed. And my daughter used to do all of that. So there was effective, efficient delegation and responsibility in the house. But in March 2020, of course, it didn't work, right? And I had to have the conversation after 10 days. And I'm thinking, why is it that despite me having the skill to delegate, which I've done for 25 years, people at home have done it. We've had conversations in the past, and people know that, you need to help out. Why was it like that in 2020? And the more I think about it, and I'm sure the more you think about it, you will understand that it is not the skill. It is more about the inner will, wanting to have that conversation, wanting to negotiate with everyone around you and say, hey, I cannot do this all by myself. Will you be in a position to help out? And how can we all together ensure that we pull through this lockdown period? And hence, when I spoke to you on the slide where I was talking about the programs that Quinnergy offers and the difference between any other traditional leadership development program or any development program versus what we offer, we actually work around the inner will of the individual. So there are two concepts that we bring out in our programs. One is called as getting in touch with our emotions. In our language, we call it as the navarasas. Those of you who understand the navarasas, you know that there is a rasa called as karuna, which is compassion. There is a rasa called as raudra, which means anger. There is, of course, a rasa called as hasya, which means laughter, right? And so on. So one of the aspects that we all need to think about is, are we actually in touch with the emotions that we go through during any situation? And here we are talking about negotiation. So in the story that I narrated, in those 10 days, did I even experience an emotion because of which I did or did not have the conversation for 10 days? What were those emotions? And for me, and I had this exploration and discussion with the person who actually coached me when I was doing this program. I told her that, see, I have conditioned myself through my life, both in my personal and professional life, not to bring out whatever emotions I'm going through. I believe that's the best, in my, opinion, that's how one has to be. That you do not show any of your emotions. You kind of, have a very, very, and people who know me say this, oh, Neeraja, you're always so calm and composed. You have such a poise, and so on and so forth. And I used to take pride in that, to say that, yeah, I could be in like the highest levels of ecstasy, or I might be, going through the lowest levels of depression, but you will always see the same Neeraja, the calm and composed. But I don't know whether this is the right thing or the good thing, because unless and until one actually gets in touch with the emotion that you're going through, and then you express that, you're not going to be able to move ahead. So that's one aspect that we talk about in all our programs. I'm not talking about reacting. So, you might say that, yes, of course, if you are angry, we have been told that you do not show anger, you do not react, you do not scream and shout and all of that. So the reaction part is very different. I'm saying even before that, do you know that you are angry? Do you want to know that you're angry? And do you want to express it to the other person and say that, see, whatever is happening, I'm not happy about it, is actually, angering me. Let's talk about it. So that's one way of, looking at inner will. And the second thing that I already spoke to you about is the archetypes that we work with. So in the five archetypes that I spoke about, which is based on the five Pandava princes, there is an archetype which is related to the Yudhishthira prince. And in all the work that I have, gone through with Quinnergy, I know that I'm a strong Yudhishthira. So what does a Yudhishthira do? A Yudhishthira is used to a lot of structure. Yudhishthira always wants to set standards for, anything and everyone, for any kind of a role behavior. And Yudhishthira sets aside emotions. Yudhishthira will set aside any intuition. The Yudhishthira person or the Yudhishthira archetype always wants to follow what is written in a book, what has happened in the past. And I should also kind of, toe the line. I have to work within a specified framework. And of course, this will work extremely well when you have things going perfectly fine for you. But when a year like 2020 happens, when there is absolute chaos and things have not been done like this in the past, and you to figure a way out, Yudhishthira in many ways will fail. So I think combination of my archetype, which was Yudhishthira, and the fact that I do not necessarily want to, even express my emotions, even before that, even tell myself, that this is the emotion that I'm going through, is what was lacking in that story that I narrated, where the inner will to have that conversation with people did not come through for the first 10 days. And then what happened on the 10th day? On the 10th day, maybe, I must have really gone bust with my emotions. And I would have decided, let me move from the Yudhishthira archetype to some other archetype. Could be a Bhima or a Sahadev or a Nakula. And I'm not going to go through all of that today because that's a deep dive program. And said, okay, fine, let's have a conversation with the rest of the family to ensure that, we are able to tackle this situation in a better way. So that is why in today's session, you're not going to get tips on how to negotiate, because that is something that you can Google and find. People will tell you negotiation is a two-way process. It has to be a win-win for both the parties. Do enough research about the other person that you're speaking to. And then, you kind of see how you can probably walk halfway and, meet the other person and all of that. And I'm not going to tell you all of that because that is something that can be learned. But for us, especially for the women, because women are known as bad negotiators for themselves. They will definitely negotiate for everybody else. They will negotiate for the rest of the family. They will negotiate for the rest of their team members. But when it comes to negotiating for themselves, they don't do it. And that's why I want to ask you the question. Do you even have the inner will? Which I explained, how do you kind of reflect to find out whether you have the inner will to negotiate? Okay. Along with having the inner will, the other thing that happens with women is that we put on a lot of limitations upon ourselves. And these limitations come by because we think that we are not good enough. We think that whatever has happened to us or come across to us is pure luck. It's not because we really deserve that. And stories like this, which we put into our heads. So, when before I quit my corporate career, I was in Capgemini, as I told you. Of course, throughout my career, I have always negotiated and got roles which did not have any travel, because in my head, I had very, very clearly decided that for me, family is a high priority, and I'm not going to go away from family just because I am in a career, and I've kind of grown in my career for 25 years, putting that statement, putting that as a condition for every role that came my way in every organization that I worked in, to say that I will not travel. Of course, today there is no question of travel, but I'm talking about the pre-COVID era. But finally, when I came to Capgemini, it's a services organization which is spread across the country, and any project that you look at will have teams spread at least across 2 cities, if not more than that. And hence, that would mean that at the role that you're delivering a project, you will have to go and meet your teams, which are in other cities. You will have to go and meet your clients who are across the globe. And my last role really demanded me to do a lot of travel to Pune. So I realized that in this organization, I can't really put my foot down, and I accepted that. And that's when I set up, the infrastructure of the cook at home. Not that I was cooking, but I really wanted my mother-in-law to kind of, have some help and, put all of that. And I started traveling a lot to Pune. I used to go every month, 1 week in Pune and come back, and I hated it. And then after a few months, I went and had a conversation with my boss to say that, because it was appearing to me as if there was just an expectation that I show up in Pune every month. Whether there was a need or not, that was never evaluated. They just expected me to be there. Okay. So I had this chat with my boss to say that, see, next month I'm not coming here unless and until there is a real need. And people told me, Neeraja, you're really, this is a very career limiting move that you're doing. You can't have such conversations. But what also triggered the conversation that conversation was the fact that my mother was going through, some health issues, and I knew that she had to undergo a surgery. I'm the only child. My father's no more, so I had to take care of her, which meant that I had to be around her. And so, all of that put together, I had this conversation with my boss, and I came back. And actually came out of that project, and I went on bench. For those of you who understand what is bench, right? It's not a great thing to be on bench, especially at that senior level. Imagine the kind of cost that they were incurring on me, and I was not available resource. I was not bringing in any money for the company, and I was sitting over there. So something preempted me. I felt that maybe, what if the next role that comes my way is also having a lot of travel, and I decide not to travel? I may have to leave the company. So I preempted and I started talking to some people, and I spoke to this lady by name Pankajam Devi. She was the MD at ANZ. I know her well. She's one of the role models that I look up to. And now she, of course, is the MD of Commonwealth Bank of Australia, CBA here. And I told her that, I'm looking out for, other jobs because of this thing that I don't want to travel. And I've had this conversation. And she told me this. She asked me, why is it that you don't want to travel? And I said, see, I don't want to be away from family. Travel means I'm not going to be, seeing them and stuff like that. That think of it like this. Anyways, we're going to leave home at 7:30 in the morning every day. Because in Bangalore, those of you who know Bangalore, I used to live in Mysore and my office was in Bellandur, which meant a good 1.5 hours on the road. So 7:30, I leave for a 9:30 office time. And I would come home only by 8:30 in the night. And after a quick dinner and say hi, hello to people, again get back to work because that's the kind of work pressure we used to have. She said, how much of time are you really spending with family on a daily basis, even if you are in Bangalore? But if you are traveling, and I'm talking 2017, right? You are traveling, you will ensure that you do at least a 15-minute video call with your family and speak to them every day, which you may not even do, when you are in the same city. So she said, you have to negotiate. And actually, though I was doing only 1 week in Pune, I knew that the role actually demanded much more because the power center was Pune for that particular account that I was handling. So, obviously I had to do more time in Pune than in Bangalore. So she was saying, negotiate and tell them that you will probably do 4 days from Pune and come back on Friday to Bangalore, do Friday from home or from Bangalore office, and then you have the weekend. And we know that through the calendar year, there are so many weeks where we'll have a Wednesday holiday or a Thursday holiday, a long weekend. Those weeks you work out of Bangalore. But don't put this limitation that I have to be with family and hence I'm not going to take a travel job and hence, you kind of lose out all your opportunities. But of course, it was good advice and really, something that one must think about. And I did not heed it because I had other reasons. As I told you, my mother was undergoing surgery, after which my husband fell very ill. And once he recovered, my father-in-law fell ill. And then my father-in-law passed away. And there was enough and more that was happening in my personal side. So I chose to quit. So I think we women struggle with anything. I won't even say negotiation, with even having a conversation, starting a conversation and opening up and being transparent and putting our thoughts on the table because we've already conditioned ourselves. We have put 100 limitations. We think we are not good enough. We think, what will happen if I say something? And those limitations are what does not allow us to have conversations. At the end of the day, negotiation is nothing but a conversation. A very open, transparent conversation to say, this is what I'm going through, or this is what I believe, is my worth, and what is it that you can offer me if the conversations have to be around, a bonus or a salary. And I purposely took, stories from my personal life because most of the time people think negotiation is only about salary, about bonus, about promotions, about the next opportunity in the company. But I think it starts much before that. It starts within you and it starts at home. Unless and until you're able to negotiate well with, all your family members and the rest of the ecosystem, you really can't even go to your office and do, a productive job. And after that, you start negotiating in terms of whatever else you need at the work. The other story I want to narrate is once I came out of corporate, I did not want to go back into the corporate because I knew that every company will bring out, these things of, you need to travel. And I did not want to do that. I wanted to start up something on my own, but somebody who's been 25 years in an organization does not know how to start on your own, right? So I decided that I will collaborate with people. And I started meeting a lot of people. However, there was this one lady, Deepa Bhattu, who runs a startup called Spencer. I was in touch with her, and she still wanted, to kind of put me through to a few companies. And she was helping me do up my CV because she said my CV was reading very service language, because I worked in a services organization. She said she wanted to put me through some product companies and she wanted me to change the language to sound very product oriented. And so we were having all these chats and she asked me, what are you doing now that you've quit? And I said, I'm talking to people to see how I could collaborate. And she said, wow, why don't you collaborate with us? Now, see what has happened. I am talking to this lady every day, but still, I did not think that I could even have this conversation with her to see if there could be an opportunity in her startup for me to do something. Why? Because I told her, see, your company works with product companies. They are a design organization. They use design thinking as a methodology to do whatever work they do. They look at organizations in terms of innovation. And in my mind, I thought I don't know any of this because I've always been a delivery person. I always manage projects, portfolios, and delivery. So I said, I didn't think I will fit in any way with any of your needs. And she said, why not? I mean, you bring in so much of experience. We could definitely use it in some way or the other. Come on, let's work together. So that's the other limitation that I was putting on myself to say that this is what I have done in my past, and I have to fit into another organization where, it will be an exact copy and a match for me. And I was not even willing to open up my mind and say, okay, fine, let's see, let me offer myself and let me negotiate with this lady with whom I'm speaking every day to see if there is an opportunity. The only problem then was she didn't know how to or how much to pay me because I again comes from such a senior position. She must have known, what high salaries I might have been drawing. She said, Neeraja, I don't know how much to pay you. And I told her, okay, even I don't know how much to ask because it's the first consulting role that I'm going to do. But all I can say is don't pay a Neeraja Ganesh. Pay for the role. If you had hired anybody else, into that consultant role, how much would you have paid that person? You would just pay me that. Now, this is not a good way to negotiate. I'm saying this, but I'm telling you this story because for me, my thought process was if I was starting off on my own, you can imagine I would have to make investments in terms of whatever infrastructure, whatever office space, whatever team, whatever I was going to do. That would have been an outflow from my pocket. And till I was able to establish that venture and till it kind of breaks even and then starts generating the profits, which I don't want to only invest back in the company, but I can actually take it out as some kind of a salary for me. I thought it was at least 2 years away. But here is an opportunity for me to work in a startup and learn so much, and they're going to pay me something out of it. So I said, it's okay, I'll pick up whatever you give me. Of course, it was a very, very small amount compared to what I was drawing, but I knew very clearly why I was doing it and I picked it up. But what it helped me was the next opportunity that came my way, I was able to negotiate better. So the next consulting assignment which came my way and person who was speaking to me asked me, so how much? And based on my experience with this startup and the fact that I had started valuing my experience, valuing the amount of time that I am spending and the output that they are getting because of that, I was able to give a number to this person, which was much, much more than, what probably Pentar was offering me. And of course, the minute I told this number to the second, consulting organization, in a minute they said, "Yes, done deal, come and join us." So then I started thinking, okay, maybe I underquoted. But anyways, I think the other point that all of us need to remember is, are we even respecting ourselves? If we are not negotiating, again, going back to all of us know how to negotiate. It is no big science. You read up, you will know how to negotiate. But why are we not doing it? If I were to tell you not negotiating for ourselves is equal to disrespecting ourselves. In the first story that I narrated, if I had continued doing all the chores of the house all by myself, was I even respecting myself? I'm not even asking whether somebody else is respecting me. I'm asking myself, am I respecting myself? So if you're not negotiating because your inner will is not triggering that conversation for yourselves with others, then it is actually disrespecting yourselves. And let me end today's session with another story, which some of you, if you've heard my earlier webinars on this topic, might have heard, but I will narrate it. So one of the things that happened when I quit from the corporate and I did a little bit of these consulting stints was that I was asked to head a not-for-profit organization. It's called Jobs for Her Foundation. So I know the founder very well, Neha, and she was starting a not-for-profit foundation, and she asked me if I would come and head that. Of course, it was an opportunity that I would never decline, because it is in the space of work that I really wanted to do in terms of looking at the gender gap in our country. So I went and told my husband that I'm going to pick up this role, a full-time job, which is with a not-for-profit foundation. And he said, "You really want to do this now? Because one thing is, you have never worked in an NGO. 25 years of corporate and are suddenly in an NGO, a new NGO, which is starting off, and you're not going to have any team support because NGOs are very lean, right? You really will not have too many people in the company. So you have to run with it yourselves. Two, my mother-in-law was just then recovering from a viral, which had, kind of constrained her mobility. So, she was not able to be really mobile in the house. So there was probably a need at some time for me to be around in the house. Because since my husband works from home, he was around for her, but there could be days when he had to go out and I had to be there at home. And three, we were thinking of building a house. So he said, imagine the amount of pressure that you will have looking at that house, because the construction is going to be really, taking away all your time, and running a new NGO, and, being at home, for all of us whenever there is a need. You think you want to pick this up? He said, why don't you continue with this, Pensar assignment? It was very comfortable, right? I was doing 4 hours every day, come home for lunch and things like that. And this is what I told him. I said, let's start with the house, because that is one of the concerns. We've not even drawn the plan for the house. We only have it in our mind that we want to build a house. By the time we draw and submit the plan for the sanction, and we get the sanction plan back, it's going to be a good 3 months from the day that we're having this conversation. Then, of course, the house was going to be on the first floor of, where my mother was living. So, of course, there was no foundation work required, but we wanted to do some extensions. So there was some digging up that was needed. So by the time we could dig up and put the pillars, and then put the walls of the first floor, and then put the roof, it was going to be another 3 months, which meant that is only after the roof comes, that you really have to start, micromanaging and, seeing what is needed and what is not needed, because then you start pulling the electrical wires and the plumbing and the tiles and all of that. So I knew it was a good 6 months away before which I will be drawn into inspecting the new house that was going to be constructed. I said, I will have a conversation at the office and tell Neha that there is the house project, and after 6 months, I will need some flexibility, because I will have to come and, kind of look at what's happening. And also the fact that my mother-in-law, if there is a day when I have to be at home, I will ask whether a work from home is possible. And I went and had that conversation with my boss. She was very happy that I was having this open conversation, because the first thing she said was, if on a particular day you have to be at home to look after your mother-in-law and work from home, it's perfectly fine. The other thing she was so very happy about was the fact that even before starting the house construction, I was telling her that there is this big project that I'm going to take up, which is going to take away some of my mind space and time space in the coming year. But it was a 6 months away, a good 6 months away. And she said, let's keep talking about the progress of the house and see how we manage when the situation comes. And I have to say that I had joined the NGO in January 2018. March 2019 is when we did the preparation of our new house. It has been constructed exactly the way I had wanted. Every nook and corner is the way that I have wanted. I've had that flexibility given to me, because I had had the conversation and negotiated for that much before the situation arose. And I told her that I would need a month off when I shift. And by then, we had figured out who would step in for me when I was away. My mother-in-law had also recovered, and we were a happy family, and I was happy in terms of, doing the work that I was doing. So going back to respect yourselves. Of course, you need to respect the others. So in the story, I was respectful of my husband who was having a back problem. And hence I said, I don't want you to do sweeping and mopping, but is there something else that, you could help me with? So as you respect the others, because of which you may not, kind of want to have certain conversations, please remember that you also need to respect yourself. And with that, I would like to end today's talk to say that negotiation is not necessarily a skill that you have to pick up, but it is more something that you need to look internally and decide for yourself whether you have a will to even have that conversation. And how does one do that self-reflection? Of course, we at Quinnergy offer tools, as I told you, through the Navarasas and through archetypal energies and the propensities that we spoke about. But even if you don't know about all of that, I think one can sit down and self-reflect to see why is it that you're not having those conversations. That's all from me today, and I'm happy to take any question and answers. If you're seeing my screen, then you can actually trying to close this. If you have more questions around the programs that we offer, you can go and visit our website, or you can send an email to Shireen, who will be happy to kind of take you through what we have to offer. I'm happy to go through any questions that might have come.
Just waiting for others to ask some questions.
Sure.
Once they come up, I'll share it with you.
Yeah. It can mean only two things, right? One, we have put some limitations on ourselves to say that if I ask a question, I might be, considered this or that. Or you are under self-reflection to say, why do I not have the will to ask the question?
We did get one question now. Farina has asked, has ever of your negotiations have gone bad? Have any of your negotiations gone bad?
So see, at the end of the day, as I said, negotiation is a conversation. There is something that you want, and hence you're having that conversation. But you must remember that the other person with whom you're having that conversation also wants something out of it, right? In the story which I narrated, I went and had a conversation with Neha to say that, see, I need some flexibility. At the end of the day, Neha also wants something. She wants me to continue delivering the work as effectively and as productively as I would have if I had, been at office. So negotiation doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get the desired outcome that you want. But the fact that you have been able to have an open conversation and the other person understands why you want it and where are you coming from. You bring out your emotions, you bring out your experiences, and you say, this is the reason why I want it this way. As long as you have been able to establish that relationship and a connect and an openness, I think you have achieved quite a lot. And then you can keep at it. Maybe in the first meeting, in the second meeting, you did not get the desired outcome, but you can keep at it. The minute, the openness and transparency has been established between the two people, at some point in time, you will get an outcome, which even if it's not perfectly aligned to what you wanted, it is very close to what you wanted. So the answer is not that I got what I wanted or didn't get what I wanted. Point is, I wanted to establish the trust and the relationship and the openness between the individuals with whom I was having that conversation and negotiating. And I think most of the times, I have been able to establish.
Deepika has asked, can you explain what's your internal motivation to negotiate and how to negotiate in a hostile environment?
So your internal motivation to negotiate is the fact that you are respecting yourself and what you want. right? So if at home you want, a space for yourself, time for yourself, you come back, after a heavy day, and you have to get into the kitchen and cook, and which is not what you want to do. So that was one of the things. See, I have never cooked, I told you, because my mother-in-law, of course, wanted to kind of continue managing the kitchen even after, I got married and went into the family. But then I realized that that she was also aging, and I either had to step in, or I would have had to bring in someone else to help me out. And that was a huge negotiation that I had to do. I come from a family which is extremely conservative Tambram family, who will never ever imagine a third person in the kitchen, right? So I had to broach that subject, and I kind of, had to broach it first with my husband, but I used my mother-in-law for it. Because the only person who is impacted by having a cook or not having a cook is my mother-in-law. Like husband and father-in-law, anyway, they're going to get their food. But a mother-in-law will be, definitely impacted if there is a helping hand. So then that is a motivation there to say that I don't want to keep feeling guilty that I'm traveling all over the place and my mother-in-law is managing the kitchen. So I had the conversation with her, and I said, how do we strategize and ensure that we are able to get somebody in? So after a long series of conversations, there were certain rules which were given that, this is the kind of a person that has to come if we are bringing in a cook. So I had to go on a search to find that kind of a person, and that would we managed to find that kind of a person. But that's the intrinsic motivation to negotiate. What is it that you want? I want to respect myself. I want to respect my time. I want to use my time for something else other than, sitting in the kitchen and cooking. And that's an example for me. I mean, if you love cooking, then please go ahead and do that. But I'm saying, whatever that aspect is, you need to kind of, how badly do you want it? That's the question you need to ask. If you really, really badly want it, you will go ahead and have that conversation. What was the second question attached to this?
Um, oh my God, I forgot about it.
Some of the skills or something.
Yes, I think the more like inner will to
Yeah, so that's
negotiate.
so the motivation, the motivation or the drive to negotiate has to come from within you, because you really so very badly want something. Ask yourselves, do you really, really badly want it? And if you badly want it, then you will go ahead and have the conversation.
Oh, they have added it again. So motivation in to negotiate in a hostile environment. Okay, where people are not
Hostile
receptive to the
environment.
negotiation. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, the environment, you can never call it hostile or friendly till you go in and you start having the conversation, right? And why does it become hostile or why does it become friendly? It is because of the way you approach the situation. If you are going into that conversation saying it is my way or highway, you have to agree to what I say, then it is going to become hostile, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants their way. Okay, so if everybody wants their way and you are also going to be very adamant and say I want my way, it is going to be hostile, and I don't think you are going to find any solution in such a situation. See, the first and foremost that you need to do is to ensure that you build that transparency, you build that trust, you build that relationship with the other person, which of course is going to take whatever amount of time it takes. And that is why when if it is a family that you're getting into, or if it is an organization that you're getting into, or in the community with your neighbors you're getting into, the first and foremost that you have to do is to build that relationship. Not even knowing when the need for negotiation will come. It will come at some point in time. You can't build relationships at that point. So your first and foremost has to be ensuring that you build those relationships. How? Ensuring that you have that open conversation. By saying, hey, today I was really upset because of this. Show them what you're going through. Show them your experiences of certain things that are happening. The minute you are vulnerable and you are opening up to say that this is what I'm going through, this is what this is the reason because of which I am behaving in a particular manner, or this is why I am thinking that I need this, the other person will also open up. So build that relationship. Most of your problems will be solved. You will not have a hostile environment. But if for whatever reason, if the environment is such, like I can only think of case, and even in that case, you know, I've narrated a story. I don't know if I'm going beyond time. I was working at this client, a French client, right? And we had moved all the work from Paris to Bangalore. So there was the entire team from Paris, you know, had gone away, and we had established a Bangalore team. But the stakeholder continued to be that Frenchman who had his team earlier. And of course, he was very hostile. Never, because we have taken away all his power, we have taken away all his team, right? So he never supported us for anything. There was one or two people sitting in Paris still, you know, managing the infrastructure, and we had needed a lot of, you know, their support to do our work. If the going in position from my side had been, now it's my, you know, team and my deliverable, I will do it my way, I don't think I would have succeeded in building a relationship with them. But I have to tell you that at the end of 3 years, when I actually came out of that project, he told me that there has never been anybody else with whom he has had a relationship like that, who has worked in the way that I had worked with him. You give him that respect because he was heading that team, so he's much more senior to you, and he knows more than what you know, because you are a new team. You are, you know, coming into this newly. So you have to build that relationship. Most of the hostile, you know, relationships can also be broken down and made friendly.
Great to hear. That's pretty much
Are we
sums
on
up
time?
many questions.
Are there any more
That's been
questions? I hope,
one last
I don't know what
question.
people were expecting out of the session, but I very clearly said, you know, this is not a skill session. I really want you all to think, why is it that you don't negotiate?
Absolutely. One final question, Neeraja. Nivedita shared that women usually feel guilty while trying to negotiate or something. How to overcome that? Any practical tips?
So why are you feeling guilty? So like in my story, right? I did not have that conversation with my husband in the first few days because I kept thinking that the framework is what? The framework is that the woman has to run the household, and you know, if the maid doesn't come, it's the woman who has to do it. If the cook doesn't come, I have to do it. And probably that guilt did not, you know, enable me to have the conversation. But if you start respecting yourself to say, I'm also a human being, I can only do this much. If you're working, I'm also working. So I also deserve whatever perks that a working man or a working woman needs, because I also deserve a break. I also deserve a me time. And I also deserve, you know, the time to be able to work on my priorities, which is, you know, not necessarily, you know, 24/7 running the household, but finding ways to manage everything else around the household, but focusing on maybe my career or my exercise or whatever else. It goes back to the same thing of, do I respect myself as much as I respect everybody else? First, you respect yourself, and the rest of the people will start respecting. I was having a conversation with my daughter just before I came into this webinar. So she's a student, but she also, you know, works in a company, and there's a lot of learning that she's getting out of it. But what happens because of that is people expect her to be there at any point of, you know, day or night. And she, because she's learning so much out of that organization, she also kind of is making herself available, whether it's in the morning, night, any time of the day or night. I said, you are a student and you have classes till 4 o'clock. Because it is online today, you know, you can be at home and you can do this, you can do that. Nobody knows what you're doing. But if you are not respecting your time to say that till 4 o'clock, I have my classes. So I will do whatever I will do only after I finish my classes. My priority is my classes. Nobody else is going to respect. They will ask you, I want this deliverable at 1 o'clock. And you will continue to keep giving that at 1 o'clock. But if you respect your time and say that I have classes till 4, I will finish that. And only then I will look at the work that has come my way. So do not, you know, tell me something emergency and all of that. Because that has to be dealt by somebody else who's available through the day. I am available only after 4. So, you know, the guilt aspect comes only because you don't respect yourself. I hope I was able to answer that.
Yes. Thank Aishwarya will be doing the summary of the session and
Yeah.
thank you note.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neeraja. Thank you, Sanana. I think most of us were able to relate to all the incidents Neeraja has quoted. So I gained a lot of interesting points today from this session. I believe what I learned is the most is negotiating for yourself is the most important thing and a gift you can give to yourself. Delegation is key to success at home and work. Well, before we start with negotiation, we need to develop willingness to have the conversation. We need to start valuing ourselves and our experience, and we need to be able to negotiate better for ourselves because we respect ourselves. So everybody wants their way, the and to come out as a to come out as a winner, we need to start respecting everyone and start negotiating. Before we start negotiating, we need to build a trust and in the relationship with a transparency. So those are the key points I learned from today's session. Thank you very much, Neeraja, for such an insightful session. Thanks everyone for being such a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having me over. And of course, we have left the details of Quinnergy, and I can always be found on LinkedIn, Neeraja Ganesh. And I would love to remain connected with you, and you can always have conversations through LinkedIn also. Please do mention that you heard me at this session, so I know, I will connect with you.
Definitely. Thank you all.